Okay, get yourself ready for your morning practice. Just sit yourself on a lift. Just make sure that you feel like you're sitting evenly. And there's levelness at the seat bones. So just have a little wriggle about. Make sure that you're sitting with levelness at the seat bones, levelness in the feet, and levelness in the hips. So hold onto your knees and elevate the heart area up to the ceiling, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Fill your lungs from the bottom to the top and empty your lungs from the top to the bottom. Soften your jaw by drawing the lower teeth away from the upper teeth. Soften your tongue, just adjust if you feel after sitting for a little while that you're not even at the seat bones. So soften the jaw by drawing the lower teeth away from the upper teeth. Soften the teeth in the gums. Soften the tongue. Bring your hands into Namaste, and with an exhalation, allow your eyes to gently open. Allow your eyes to gently close, not open. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Consciously fill your lungs from the bottom to the top. And empty your lungs from the top to the bottom. Keeping the jaw and the tongue and the teeth soft in the gums and in the jaw. Observe that when you soften your tongue, you soften around the forehead. You soften in the eye sockets. So consciously maintain that softness. Gently draw your chin down to meet your chest. Lift your chest up to meet your chin. Spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area, and then release the backs of your hands down towards your knees, palms facing upwards, and then raise your head. Allow your eyes to softly open and focus to softly come back. Hold onto your knees, lift up into your chest, elevating the heart area upwards, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across and your ribs and your shoulders. Turn with the out breath. Lift the chest. And then come back to the center. Hold onto your knees, lift up into the chest. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the left. Just drawing your abdomen across, ribs, shoulders, just feeling that you wake up the spine as you turn it. And then gently come back to the center. Hold onto your knees, lift up into the chest. Again, drawing your shoulders down and lengthening your neck up to the ceiling. Take a deep inhalation and then with an exhalation, draw your chin forwards and down to make contact with the chest. Consciously draw your shoulders down away from your ears so that you lengthen the back of your neck. With an out breath, raise the chin up to the ceiling, feeling that you stretch out the front of the neck, pushing the chin to the ceiling as far as you can. And then bring the chin down to meet the chest. And then raise the chin to the ceiling with an out breath if you can, just stretching out the front of your neck. And then with an out breath, bring the chin back to just the normal level state. Take a deep inhalation, and with the exhalation, draw your right ear over towards the right shoulder, but keeping the shoulders away from the ears. So you stretch out the left side of the neck. Take a deep inhalation, and with the exhalation, bring your head back to the center and over to the left. And just stretching out the right side of the neck. And then with an out breath, back to the center and over to the right. And then with an out breath, back to the center and over to the left. So just let your breath be normal. You don't necessarily need to match your breath to the speed that I'm working. Just work with your own breath at your own pace. Come back to the center. Just hold onto your knees, lift up into the chest. Bring your head level if you haven't done. Take a deep inhalation, and with an exhalation, bring your chin across to the right shoulder. and keeping the shoulders down. With an out breath, come back to the center and then bring the chin across to the left shoulder. And with an exhalation, back to the center and across to the right. And with an out breath, wherever that comes, back to the center and across to the left. Gently, with an out breath, come back to the center. Just come off your lift and sit back on your heels. Just let your legs support you into the floor. Let your legs just sink into themselves. Let the shins connect to the ground. So consciously push the shins into the floor. Push the shin bone into the shin skin so that the thighs activate, so that your knees want to kind of maybe spread apart a little wider, but just keep them kind of so that your lower ribs are just going to pass through your knees. Lift it up into the heart area, elevate the heart area upwards, keep the head lifted, driving the chin and the chest forwards. Come forwards, reaching forwards with your hands, keeping your chest lifted. Spread the palms, press the palms into the floor, and then come down, keeping the head lifted initially, aiming to keep the seat bones down on the heels, and then bring the forehead down, just stretching out the shoulders. Make space in your neck, at the back of your neck, by rotating the armpits down to the floor so that you open up the shoulder blade region. So I don't want you to particularly dish the shoulder blades outwards, but give yourself space in the back of your neck by rotating the armpits down to the floor, by turning the crease of the elbows towards each other and almost up towards the ceiling. Keep the hands firmly activated so that you can keep the seat bones really firmly down on the floor. And then rotate the arms in the opposite direction. Bring the armpits to look to the sides of the room. Get the crease of the elbows to face inwards towards each other. Keep the arms really straight. So maybe you feel when you really open up the armpits that the shoulder blades come together a little more, but you kind of hunch around the shoulders. So just work to lengthen out of that. Come up onto your knees, have your hands as wide apart as your mat. So your little fingers on the edge of the mat. Turn your toes under. Bring your feet as wide apart as the mat, and then come up into dog down. Just stretching out the legs, but working to lift the seat bones. So often it's useful at first to bend your knees a little, to lift the seat bones a little higher, to lift the tailbone to the ceiling, to draw the belly button towards the spine, and then to straighten the legs. Turn the fronts of the thighs inwards, push the fronts of the thighs into the backs of the thighs. Fronts of the thighs, push them through to the backs of the thighs. Push the fronts of the knees through to the backs of the knees. Push the fronts of the shins through to the backs of the shins, to the calf muscles. Turning the shins inwards so that the heels start to separate. Just find your levelness on the inside. Levelness of action. Levelness of extension. And then step your feet forwards, come up into a standing position. And then come into half uttanasana. So the feet are as wide apart as the mat. You've got some blocks for your feet, for your hands. Line the edge of your feet up really precisely with the edge of the mat. That's really important, because when I'm in the room with people, I spend a lot of time making people go from Charlie Chaplin feet to turn the toes in, and sometimes it takes a while to get them to get the feet in the right place. You keep on saying, have a look where your feet are, and their feet are like this. It's like, look down, and then they're like, oh right, okay. So it's sometimes we think we've done it and we haven't, so sometimes it's good to have a look. But if the toes aren't turning inwards, then we haven't got space in the hips. So it's a really useful action. Bring your hands onto your hips and then lift up into the chest. Squeeze the elbows towards each other. Keep the head lifted as you hinge at the hips. Keep extending into the jaw. And then reach down and find the blocks. So of course you can come into the pose with the arms outstretched, but coming in with hands on your hips just is a little softer on your back. Lift your kneecaps, lift your thigh muscles all the way, the frontal thigh muscles all the way up to the top of the leg. Turn the fronts of the thighs inwards so that you feel the backs of the thighs broaden outwards. Tighten the kneecaps, press the kneecaps through to the backs of the knees, lift the seat bones, project the chin and the chest forwards, trying to inch the abdomen towards the diaphragm, towards the collarbone, towards the chin. So activate the full body. Draw the shoulder blades in towards the front chest. If you can go down lower, then do. Just be cautious if you've got a back problem. Just come down, maybe just stay at that top level if you've got a back problem, but if it feels like it will be okay, you can trust your own judgment on your back, then you can go down a little lower, but ideally stay a little higher. So my back's a little twingy at the moment, so I'm just coming into this with caution. You can go all the way to the floor if you want to, but not if you've got a bad back. Just respect your back, just go with it, just find your space within the pose. Observe the pose in terms of its levelness, in terms of where your balance is in your feet. Is your weight in your heels, or is it towards your toes? Try and hit the legs back so that your weight is in your heels, and then project the chin and the chest forwards all the more. Okay, bring your hands into your hips, bend your knees on the way up if you need to, and then come up into the standing position. Move the blocks out of the way and then come up into Tadasana. Breathe even, deep inhalations and exhalations. Turn the palms all the way out. Turning the upper legs in the sockets, broadening the chest. Palms facing outwards, rotating the upper arms in the sockets. Just breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Bring your arms out nice and wide in towards your chest, and then step or jump your feet apart. Turn your left toes in and your right leg and foot all the way out. Bring the chest to face the front. Spread the toes, tighten the kneecaps. Keep the back leg really firm. Turn the chest up to face the ceiling, look up towards the top hand. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Look down the floor, look at the foot, squeeze the kneecap into the socket, lift the front of the thigh up towards the top of the leg, turn the chest. Reach up, come back to the centre, swap your feet around, turn your right toes in, your left leg and foot all the way out, turning the chest, turning the legs from the inside out, turning the chest up to face the ceiling as you come up, or as you come down. Just spend a little time just to observe your pose, observe your balance, observe that levelness of action. So when we talk about levelness of action, it's about, is the left side of the body working evenly with the right side, are the legs working evenly with the arms, are the spine working evenly with the legs and the arms and the neck and the head. So it's about finding that levelness of action. Come back to the centre, bring the feet parallel. And then step or jump your feet back together, coming back into Tadasana. So again, just feel that you're working in Tadasana with levelness of action. The left side of the body works evenly with the right. The arms are working evenly with the legs. It's the effort in the pose. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Stretch your arms out in front, interlock the fingers, turn your palms all the way out, squeeze the outer elbows in, and then raise your arms over your head, baddangulyasana. Just opening up the shoulders. Bring the armpits out to the sides of the room. Squeeze the outer elbows in, try and prise the hands apart, but keep the webbing of the hands really firm. Take deep inhalations and exhalations, breathing evenly into both lungs. With an exhalation, release your arms, and then swap the interlock of the fingers so that the other index finger is on the top of the stack. Turn the palms all the way out, and then raise your arms over your head. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, just allowing the body to work with evenness. Keep the mind focused on the feeling of the pose. Activate your arms by squeezing the outer elbows in, pressing the fingers into the backs of the hands, and then trying to almost prise the hands apart to make space in the armpit chest. Bring the armpits out to the sides of the room, gather in the shoulder blades together, keep the arms straight. Observe how much you can breathe when you broaden the armpits out to the sides of the room. And then release your arms and then come back into Tadasana, just feeling the warmth of the shoulders, warmth of the hands, warmth of the arms. Turn the palms all the way out. Again, rotating the upper arms in the sockets. Lift up into the chest. Breathe even deep exhalations and inhalations. Broadening the chest. Rotating the upper arms in the sockets so that you broaden the collarbone all the more. Palms facing outwards. Just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. release. Bring your feet hip width apart. Turn your toes in. If you've got a back problem, then don't come all the way down, but come forwards and just stretch forwards like this, activating the legs, keeping the front chest lifted and long. Otherwise, we're going to go into full uttanasana, where you raise your arms, bring your thumbs into the crease of the elbows, wrap your fingers around your elbows, and then come forwards, and then activate those legs so that you can hang down with the upper body. But working with respect to the physical body. So again, my back is a little tense, a little stiff. So in that case, you work like this, activating the legs away from the back of the chair, lengthening from the elbows into the armpits, into the hips. So breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, activating the legs, lifting the seat bones, pushing the fronts of the thighs through to the backs of the thighs. Extending the spine rather than just letting it hang down. Okay, bring your hands into your hips if you're all the way down. And then bend your knees on the way up. And then come back up into a standing position. And then come down onto your knees. Have your hands shoulder width apart, your feet hip width apart. If you're not doing dog down, then do dandasana, stretching your legs away. It's the same pose, but just gravity is different. So step back if you're doing dog down, have your feet hip width apart, your hands shoulder width apart. In dandasana, have your hands at the sides of the body at first, then you can raise them up in the air, pushing the heels of the hands to the ceiling so that it becomes more dog down like. But if that raising your arms makes you feel dizzy or uncomfortable, then just keep your arms at the sides of the head, at the sides of the hips. Otherwise, lift up into your dog down, activate the legs, push the fronts of the legs through to the backs of the legs. Turn the fronts of the legs inwards. Just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, just being in the pose with the breath. Observing your levelness of action. So just be inside the pose. Be inside your pose, whichever pose you are doing. Okay, come down onto your knees, or just stay sitting on your seat bones if you're in dandasana. You can come into virasana, sitting back in your heels, lifting up into the chest, just observing your energy, observing the energy of the pose. And then come forwards into virasana, just lengthening the tailbone down to the floor, lengthening the chest, away from the hips, away from the abdomen. Press the forehead into the floor, the area between the eyebrows. If you can't reach the floor, put a block underneath your head. In fact, let's all put a block underneath the forehead. So if you haven't got a block, you just press your head into the floor. But if you've got a block, press
press the forehead into the block really firmly, the area between the eyebrows, and then try and move the skin of the forehead downwards towards the bridge of the nose to push the head into the floor and stretch the head away from the neck. So quietening action for the forehead, the frontal lobes of the brain.
Okay, and then when you're ready, just sit yourself back on your heels. Just listen to the breath, listen to the body's response to the sequence that we've done so far. And then come onto all fours for rajakapotasana. So have your knees hip width apart, your hands underneath your shoulders, your knees underneath your hips. And then stretch from your knees into your toes, so the shins aim to come down to the floor. Just find that firmness in this connection to the floor. Try not to press down into the hands too firmly. Press into the hands, but then consciously lengthen up into the armpits. Bring your right knee, towards your right wrist. Bring the right foot underneath the left thigh, and then stretch that left leg away. Point into the toes of that back foot. Come up onto the fingertips. Turn that back leg like you're doing Tadasana, turning the front of the thigh inwards so that the back of the thigh broadens outwards and it brings the hips level. Lengthen from the abdomen into the diaphragm, into the collarbone, into the chin, keeping the shoulders away from the ears. Push the knees in opposite directions. Keep that back leg firmly in Tadasana. Bring the palms down. Walk that back leg in and then come back onto all fours, just resetting in the middle. Just breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, just keeping your focus in the physical body. Bring the left knee to make contact with the left wrist. Bring the left foot underneath the right thigh and then stretch that right leg away. Stretch the right leg away, point the toes. Come up onto the fingertips. Activate that back leg in Tadasana, turning the front of the thigh inwards, the back of the thigh outwards. Lift from the abdomen to the diaphragm, to the collarbone, to the chin. Lengthen into those toes of the back leg. Bring the crease of the elbows to face the front so that you broaden the collarbone. And then release. Just bring the palms down onto the floor, turn your toes under. Step back with that front leg. Just come back to the center point and then just have a little swing of the hips just to really open up the side of the hip. Just a gentle, slow sway from side to side. And then sit back on your heels. Lengthen the arms away. And then bring the forehead down onto the floor. And then bring your hands underneath your shoulders, push yourself up into a seated position. And then just sit yourself in cross legs. So if you know that you struggle to lift the spine in cross legs sitting directly on the floor, then sit yourself on top of a folded blanket or on top of some blocks. Just find your levelness underneath the seat bones. Just hold onto your knees, elevate the heart area upwards, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Just focus on long, slow, deep, deliberate breaths. So initially, we're going to come forwards. So again, if you've got a bad back, you might want to just stay at this first stage. Otherwise, in cross legs or half padmasana, you walk the hands forwards, just pressing the hands onto the palms of the hands onto the blocks so that you can lift up into the chest, stretching the abdomen away from the pelvis, abdomen to the diaphragm, to the collarbone, to the chin. Just gently coming forwards a little bit at a time. Keeping the head lifted, keeping the tailbone turning in, keeping the shoulders away from the ears. So use the blocks underneath your hands, because if you're not ready to go down and you go down to the floor to start off with, then you just tend to round your back. So having the blocks under your hands, so here, bring some blocks under your hands if you can. It will give you just that space in the front chest. Be on the high end of the blocks. I've just realised you can't see my blocks. So be on the tall end of the blocks, so that you can then press into the floor and lift up the hands better. So you keep the chest lifted, keep the heart area lifted. So just gently coming forwards. So forward bending is really good for the digestive organs. Just breathe into the pose. And then just walk your hands back. Hold onto your knees, lift up into your chest. Lift the heart area up to the ceiling, elevate the heart area to the ceiling, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Take a deep inhalation in through the nose. And then with an exhalation, turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across. And your ribs and your shoulders. And then come back to the centre. Hold onto your knees, lift up into the chest, elevating the heart area upwards. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the left. Digging the back hand into the floor. Elevating the front chest up to the ceiling. Drawing the abdomen across towards that left knee and beyond it. And then gently coming back to the centre. Okay, get yourself a bolster. If you haven't got a bolster, you can just use some cushions. So just have a bolster for your back. You might want a folded blanket for your head. So we're going to come into supta baddangulyasana. So with a lift in the chest. So you sit close to the end of the bolster, pull your feet in towards each other. push your hands into the floor, lift up into the chest, and then guide your back down along the bolster. Let the knees fall apart. Feel that the abdomen broadens, that the chest lifts and opens, so that the chest becomes broad. Just make sure that the bolster isn't too low in your lumbar, creating discomfort. If there's discomfort in your hips, then put some blocks underneath your thighs. But this pose is a really good prizing open pose, isn't it? Bringing energy into the body. Maybe you can feel your energy like a source of light radiating outwards. So just focus on the breath. Focus on filling the lungs evenly. Focus on emptying the lungs evenly. Filling the lungs from the bottom to the top and emptying the lungs from the top to the bottom. Just allowing the chest to expand with the in-breath and to relax with the out-breath. Just observe the difference in the sound of the in-breath to the out-breath. So the first stage of any ujjayi pranayama is to just bring your attention to the physical accommodation of the breath, the body's response to the breath, the body making space for the breath. So observe the chest's role in that function and the abdomen's role in that function. If it becomes too strong for your hips to stay in supta baddangulyasana, then go into just the heart pose with your back still elevated with the bolster but your legs straight. If you can stay in supta baddangulyasana, then do. So this first stage of ujjayi pranayama just makes the body and the mind alert to the action of the breath. So going back to this idea of levelness of action, is there levelness in the in-breath and the out-breath? Is there levelness in the left lung and the right lung? Do you breathe evenly into both? Do you breathe evenly out of both? So acknowledge and observe, or observe and acknowledge Okay, push your elbows into the floor. Bring your hands onto the floor and then gently lift yourself out of supta baddangulyasana. Release the legs, come into cross legs. Just hold onto your knees. Observe your energy, that lightness of energy rising upwards. And then one more time, just turn to the right side, digging the back hand firmly into the floor so that you stay on the front edge of the seat bones. Draw the abdomen across and the ribs and the shoulders. Come back to the center, hold onto your knees, and then turn to the left. Just this gentle manipulation of the spine just to bring movement and freedom to the physical body. Turn in the chest, turn in the abdomen, and then gently come back to the center. So have a folded blanket for underneath your head and have your bolster for underneath your knees. And just bring yourself down into our sirvasana, or in the restorative tradition, this is just known as the basic relaxation pose. So just allow yourself to relax. Just let the body sink into the floor. Let the physical body become heavy. Unhook the muscles of the arms and the legs. Allow the body to effectively collapse into the floor. Let the body become heavy. And out of that heaviness, observe how the sensation of physical lightness radiates from the bones, filling the muscles with a sensation of effervescence, filling the organs with a healing energy that feels like it brings energy into the organs. Radiating from the muscles, from the bones into the muscles, into the organs, into the flesh, and into the skin. Use your in-breath and your out-breath to distribute that feeling of energetic lightness down into the toes and into the fingertips and up into the top of the head. Filling the body with the vitality of your practice. Vitality of breath energy all the way from the feet into the top of the head. basking in that feeling of energetic lightness. And then when you're ready to disturb yourself, just wriggle your toes, wriggle your fingers, bring yourself back into this pose of shavasana. And then bend your knees, bring your feet onto the bolster, have the feet apart and the knees together. Resting down into the floor, resting the back into the floor. And then draw your knees in towards your chest, just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just manipulating the muscles around the back, just giving them a little massage. And then gently roll over onto your right side. Just stay down for a breath or two. And then straighten out the top leg, come back up into a seated position. Just a final cross legs with your hands in the masti, just a final spinal lift. Draw your energy in through the nose, down into the abdomen. Bring the breath down into the abdomen. Be conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice this morning. That clean, positive energy that you have released through extensions and forward bends and twists and reclining poses. Breath work. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to seek to generate or to acknowledge the positive energy that you have created inside. Just acknowledging that positive energy around the heart area. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. Release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards, just connecting the tip of the index finger with the tip of the thumb, just a gesture of wisdom, bodily intelligence and peacefulness that we can carry with us into our day. And then very gently raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open. Focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully you feel as though you've really lifted your energy and you've given yourself lots of good, positive energy to put into your day. Thank you very much for joining me.